Eve. Everything is where it needs to be. Give me just 2 seconds here to make certain. This beginning portion of everything is always kind of difficult to make certain that it's all where it needs to be. Just want to make certain everything's connected properly. And it looks like we are on and going right before 10 o'clock on Friday. That was one heck of a week. Glad that it's over with. We've had plenty of fun. I think it's time for a good weekend coming up, and does not look like we're going to be seeing too much of any concerns from the weather for this weekend. Ophelia, watching that carefully to see what we might wind up with here in the next several hours. Maybe the possibility of a hurricane coming up. We'll see what goes on there, but in the meantime, things are decently quiet here. We're not going to be seeing anything in the way of problems from Ophelia coming up anytime soon, but for right now, it looks like it is going to be remaining right below hurricane strength for tropical storm conditions. We'll take a look at that coming up here in just a little bit. We are live on Twitch and also on Facebook. Thanks for joining us. It is, again, Friday night, the 22nd of September. The last day of summertime is over with, and we're coming up on the last couple of hours before we cross over into the next season, which is autumn. Springtime in the southern hemisphere, so hopefully it'll be warming up back around Antarctica in the course of the next day or two. But for right now, going to be seeing some pretty chilly conditions down that way. We'll take a look at the almanac page, our weather window picture of the day, and a whole bunch of other interesting information coming up in just a little bit. We'll be cutting this a little bit short. We got to get ready to go for Friday Night Football in the studio in just a little while, so stay tuned again for more with News 12 as we get into the weekend itself. Let's take a look outside from the Speedy's Total Car Care camera from the Chattanooga Theater Center overlooking Coolidge Park, the Tennessee River, the bridges. Again, very much on the quiet side for right now. Beautiful evening out there, just absolutely gorgeous sunsets and some very nice conditions out there for now. Lee Point looking to where sunset was on the Plainview outdoor advertising camera. From Bailey's Heating and Air camera overlooking downtown, State Highway 27, traffic is moving along very nicely there. Let's see how traffic is going out into around 2475. Usually this is backed up a lot to where we have 75 north traffic backed up to where it joins 24 west. A lot of construction going over into that area, but for right now, doesn't look like too much is going on. Looks like some flashing red lights underneath the underpass there from 75 south under I-24, so that could be just a bit of a concern there. Beautiful sunset and some crepuscular rays earlier tonight from the News 12 studio camera. That's the veteran-owned Patriot Concrete camera in and around the area of downtown. And last but not least, let's take a look over the waters of Island Cove. Beautiful sunlit, dappled waters out there for this afternoon and this evening. But for now, Island Cove Marina and Resort. Quiet, clear, very nice out there. Temperatures back in the lower 70s. Remaining nice into the rest of the weekend from what it looks like. Again, for right now, it's beautiful. Going to continue that way. Thanks to one of our viewers, some excellent photographic work this week from Gulfport, Mississippi. A very nice sunrise. Thank you very much, Jonathan Bork of Chickamauga, for a beautiful view from areas just down to our south and west along the Gulf Coast. Got pictures to send in? Please do so. Drop them to pictures@wdef.com or, again, drop them to our social media pages. Be great to see what you're seeing out there, and your picture could be the next West Shore Home weather window picture of the day. A beautiful day again today, just a little bit on the warmer side than what we were usually used to. Just a few degrees out there, but cool this morning, back into the mid to upper 50s or so, and nowhere close to our record high, 10 degrees below our record high of 96, last set back in 1935, a year before my dad was born, and 41, the record low, last set back in 1913. We're still very much on the dry side. We could really use a little bit more in the way of anything involving rainfall. Going to be dry into the weekend. Some rain next week, but this could wind up being a very dry month of September. We're now just a little bit over a week away from that coming to an end. And again, we're seeing the changeover in seasons for now from this last day of summer right into the first day of autumn coming up into tomorrow. So we see that change in season, yes, not quite so much the change in temperatures. So if you're heading out for a round of golf, it is going to be a beautiful day out there, but take the extra bottle of water, and also don't forget to take along some of the sunblock, as it is going to be decently sunny out there. And don't forget to watch out for those gophers. Not great conditions out there for anything involving going out and catching a fish. So if you're going to be heading out the door, according to the website we use, poor conditions for Saturday, but the temperatures are going to be great for being out and about, so looking excellent out there through the rest of the weekend there. And of course, we're not doing the bus stop forecast for tonight, but for the grill cast, if you're going to be out and about this evening, it was a beautiful evening to get out on the grill. Likewise for Saturday and Sunday, the Food City certified Angus beef cast, or grill cast I should say, back in the mid to upper 70s. Let's get into what's going on with the East Coast. Ophelia winds are still just below hurricane strength. There are hurricane watches out. We'll talk about that coming up in just a little while. We do not see anything really approaching us just yet. We've got a parking lot full of systems across the central and the western U.S. This is going to start to head our direction in the next several days, but we're not going to be seeing any effects of all of this until we get into the area coming up around Monday, and that will be our next best opportunity for anything involving rainfall coming up. So we've still got, again, several days of dry weather coming our direction, and that's about all that we are able to wind up with for the time being. So for now, again, the weekend looks good, dry. Ophelia is not going to be giving us any problems at all as we get into the rest of the weekend. Clear and cool tomorrow morning. Saturday morning starting off with temperatures back in the mid to upper 50s, and then lower 80s with a lot of sunshine for Saturday. A few clouds mixed in, but otherwise mainly sunny skies. Lower 50s, even some upper to some mid to lower 40s in northeastern parts of Alabama, and then back into the upper 40s across portions of middle Tennessee. So some very cool air. That's all due to the hurricane dragging down a lot of air coming in from out of the north. We'll see the potential of some more clouds coming through by Sunday afternoon. Temperatures again close to normal in the lower 80s, lower 60s as we get into Monday, and then early Monday afternoon. Gorgeous conditions once again. No need for any umbrella. It's going to be late Monday night into Tuesday that we see the potential of some more showers coming through. But as you can see, through dismissal time Monday afternoon, no chance of any rainfall out there for the kids to have to worry about on their bus stop home. So definitely some good news on that. Into the future, through the weekend, again, the first day of autumn comes up tomorrow, and numbers will continue to see the potential of staying normal into the next several days, with more chances of rain coming up as we go toward Monday, late Tuesday, and Wednesday. Minimal chances of rainfall. That's going to be about it. But we see the numbers drop a little bit into the upper 70s. That is about as good as it gets for right now, to where we see the chances of anything involving rainfall just minimal at this time, and going to be staying that way as we get into next week. Rounding out the rest of the month, by this time next week, we'll be heading into the last weekend of September, and that looks to be dry as well. No major changes coming up with rainfall. So again, this could wind up being a very dry September in the end of the next several days out there. So just not really that much changing, but a great weekend coming up. No question about that. All right, let's get into the tropics. Got plenty to talk about here. Back toward Europe, the British Isles, the Iberian Peninsula, and Africa. Looking back to the west, the National Hurricane Center has issued its final advisory on Nigel, as it's going to be falling apart as we go into the weekend. Hardly anything left of it for right now. It's going to be heading through the area between Greenland and Iceland as a remnant low, so there's really little, if anything, expected out of this. Now, toward next week, we'll talk about Ophelia again in just a little bit. We do have the potential of seeing some more problems with this system coming in from the Atlantic, just off the African coastline, and this one is going to be heading right over toward the Leeward Islands. It's going to take better part of a week to make its way over here. We're already seeing the National Hurricane Center giving this a 90% chance of development, which means that there's a very good chance that we could see an organized system out of this in the next 2 to 7 days. Doesn't look like an immediate thing. We're starting to see a little bit more of a swirl there. Not a lot of structure with this for right now. Not as much moisture all the way over toward parts of the areas west of Africa. This, again, if it develops, could become tropical depression, tropical storm Philippe. That is the P name storm. And that's what we're going to have to watch as we go toward the end. This is about 2 weeks away, give or take, from the continental U.S. There's also the possibility that, again, this storm could make its way through the Atlantic and then do like Lee and Margot and just basically kind of take that right-hand turn and scoot up into the northwestern Atlantic, just like we saw with Lee last week. This one, again, shows a stronger sign of development than we had with Ophelia early on. But it's got a long way to go, and remember, that's some very, very unnaturally warm water going through parts of the Atlantic. So this could develop over the weekend. Could be looking at our next named storm coming up here very, very soon. All right, let's get a little bit closer to home and talk about what's going on. Ophelia, over the last several hours, has been deepening. The black lines on here, the lines of pressure in the atmosphere called isobars. And notice again that there's a lot more of them when it finishes up the loop, again, as that area of low pressure starts to deepen in the atmosphere. That area of low pressure has got that wind swirling around, trying to fill up that gap. Nature hates a vacuum, so nature's always trying to set things back on an even keel, and this is not helping like this. It's a developing storm system, so the area of low pressure is getting deeper and deeper, and winds are going faster and faster around that to try to fill in that gap being created by this storm. So it's sending waves of rainfall onshore to portions of the Carolinas and also up into around Chesapeake Bay and just off the coastline into around eastern Virginia for tonight. Now, what are we looking for with this storm system? It looks like, and this is the wind field for wind gusts right now, 10 o'clock Eastern time on Friday. Winds are at 70 miles per hour. It's still got a ways to go before we make our way toward landfall. It's expected to happen sometime into very early on Saturday morning. It looks like right now the best time frame will be somewhere around very early, maybe dawn patrol overnight, and that's where we see again that come ashore. This model has it coming ashore as a tropical storm. There's a slim chance it could strengthen just enough with that warm water off the coast, becoming a minimal hurricane in the next about 8 hours or so before daybreak. We'll see how well that goes. High pressure back to the north of us is doing a good job of kind of cruising this storm back toward the coastline, but it's going to kind of sit in that nice little sweet spot to where it could get a lot of moisture coming in from off the Atlantic, dumping it into the mid-Atlantic states on land, and that could be causing some flooding there. And we see this storm curving up toward the D.C. area, Baltimore, Philly, New York. This thing could be a big weekend ruiner for a lot of outdoor plans going on. So something to think about if you're heading this way. Not the great place to be for a beach vacation, not to mention those riptide potentials coming in from out of there. We do have, again, tropical storm warnings in the blue along the coast. And right there in the purple, right as you hit the area just north of South Carolina, there are hurricane watches in effect for the worst winds curving around that area between 3 o'clock and 12 o'clock on the clock dial diagram. The northeastern corner of the storm is the worst part right there. That's the heaviest winds coming through. So as this smacks into the coast, that's where we'll see the worst conditions going on, and that is where we could see a lot of the problems with the heaviest rain and the heaviest surf being driven up and into the coastline area. So if you're, again, planning on heading this direction, see if you can change your plans a little bit, because for right now, this is not going to be a good place to be. Right off the Outer Banks is where we're seeing those potentials of the highest winds of nearly hurricane strength, and that again just not a great place for now. The storm system itself again is going to be expected to head up the coastline and will continue that direction. Let me see if I can find that. Sorry, I've got my graphics mixed up here. Again, we're not expecting this to really be a major concern for the New England states, but if that storm holds its form just a little bit where that air is swirling around, that could drive a lot of rain on shore for anything north of D.C. and the Chesapeake Bay, Delmarva Peninsula area. So please use caution out there and watch what goes on with a lot of interest. From the area around the entire planet, there are geostationary satellites that orbit and look at a particular place on the planet, and they orbit with the planet, looking at the exact same spot. Again, geostationary, they're parked in orbit, and there are many of these. This one taking a look at the Western Hemisphere, and notice again, this is from earlier today, this from the Regional Mesoscale Meteorology Branch, and the CIRA division for satellites. Notice the terminator right there between night and day, basically right smack up and down between the poles. That's the change in season. Tonight is the equinox, the autumnal equinox, and that is where we see the terminator stand straight up and down. At various points in time, again, it'll be a diagonal line when we hit the summer or the winter solstice. It'll look this way again as we go toward March, when spring arrives in about half a year's time. But for right now, we are getting close to that time of the year where we're going to be getting a lot darker, and the southern hemisphere goes toward summertime as we head toward winter. We'll lose daylight, they gain it. Some better weather in Antarctica down that direction earlier on, but kind of neat to be able to see this coming on through as we go into the change in season. So frosty temperatures not too far away now as we lose summertime, and baseball season over with. Thank you very much to the Lookouts for a great season. Terribly sorry that last night's divisional playoff did not come to fruition, but already counting down the days where we can go back to doing baseball in the Bluff City and see more in the River City and see more about what goes on there. That's pretty much it. Oh, before we go too far, again, this weekend, really cool to be able to see this. Again, the OSIRIS-REx mission, the Origins, Spectral Interpretation, Resource Identification, Security Regolith Explorer will be returning a sample capsule from the satellite passing by Earth to the Utah desert, and we'll be able to pick that up. The asteroid, about a year or two ago, landed on an asteroid called Bennu, and it bounced toward the asteroid, picking up a bunch of debris from off the surface of the asteroid, and that sample container is going to land in the Utah desert in the next couple of days. So really looking forward to seeing what this brings back, and that'll be happening sometime Sunday afternoon, the 24th. If you'd like to see more about that, NASA has an absolute ton of information on there to take a look at, so please give that a try. Administrators, teachers, again, please, if you'd like to have us in your classroom, please send us an email through our website on the Food City Weather in the Classroom program, and you can find out more again about that Weather in the Classroom program, wdef.com/weather. This weekend, when nothing is going on, very quiet weather, perfect time to get your weather radio program. We can help you do that. All you have to do is go to wdef.com/weather, view the video, and we can help you program in a life-saving piece of equipment, the counties, and the warnings that you would like to be warned about, instead of counties and warnings that you don't want to know about whatsoever. So if you'd like to know more about that, again, wdef.com/weather if you'd like to find out a little bit more there. And also don't forget, we're about a little less than a month away from the Great Central U.S. Shakeout. I did not update the days on this, but I believe that's 28 days left until the world's biggest earthquake drill. Yes, we don't have too many earthquakes here, but if you ever visit an area that is prone to earthquakes, always helps to know a little bit more about that. Plus, a great opportunity for kids to learn a little bit more about safety and science, and a good opportunity to learn about protection and thinking ahead when it comes to natural disasters. So please give that a thought at shakeout.org for more information and register your event and get an idea as to what is going to happen on that particular day. That's coming up again October 19th in just less than a month or so. All right, that should do it for Weather Overtime. It is Friday night, so I will be back with you again on Monday afternoon and evening. And we'll have meteorologist Todd Heislip watching things through the weekend. News 12 at 11 on Saturday and Sunday night, and I'll be back with you in the evenings on Monday. Chip Chapman will be here bright and early at 5 a.m. Eastern Time on the morning show, so stay tuned for more on that. And again, throughout the rest of the weekend at our website, wdef.com/weather. And throughout, if you want to check me out, I'm on all these social media pages. That's me, not the TV station. We're on Instagram, X, and Facebook. But if you want to play a game of chess with me, find me on lichess.org or on chess.com. Would love to play a game if you'd like to do so at some point in time. And again, through the rest of the weekend, hope you have a safe one out there, and we'll see you back on Monday. Let's be careful out there. Thank you, Sergeant Phil. More on the rest of your forecast at the website, and stay tuned for more with News 12 through the weekend on air and online. Thanks for joining us for the Friday night edition of Weather Overtime.